Let me know if you're familiar with this. You know you drink too much, and you are trying your very best to at least moderate, if not quit. But that has proven time and time again to be much more difficult than most people make it seem. And tonight is yet another test of your willpower. Tonight, there is a get-together that someone from work invited you to. And you really want to go. You're excited to go. You know it's going to be a good time, but you also know there's probably going to be a whole lot of drinking. And it also just so happens to be on a weeknight. So you have 3 options. 1, you turn down the invitation and don't go out because you know that if you do, you're probably going to get wasted and have to spend the entire day tomorrow hungover as fuck at work. Or 2, you accept the invitation and go out and get wasted and then spend the entire day tomorrow hungover as fuck at work. Or 3, you say to yourself, I'm going to go out, but I'm only going to have 1 drink. I'll make an appearance, I'll have a good time, and then I'll stop. I'm going to have an early night, and then I'll wake up tomorrow nice and early and not spend the entire day hungover as fuck at work. We all know which one of these options is the most tempting, but we also know which one of these options will most likely fail if we attempt it. Option number 3 is the option we choose. We decide to go out and we say to ourselves, I'm only going to have 1 drink. Or maybe we're a little bit more generous. We say we're only going to have a couple drinks and then we're going to stop. But no matter how much we try to consciously convince ourselves that this is actually going to happen, the inevitable scenario always gets plopped right in our laps, where we are out with our coworkers and we've reached our predetermined maximum limit that we planned at the beginning of the night. And according to our plans, it is now time to stop drinking. But that never seems to be the case, does it? At this moment, we abandon our original plans and go full force into option 2. Option 2 transports us directly to the next morning, hungover as fuck, filled with regret and shame and an empty wallet. And most likely, the fear of checking our bank statement. And in this condition, we now dread the 8 hours of pain and suffering we have to endure at work. And it's obviously not worth it. There may have been a time back in our 20s where it was. We wore these nights like a badge of honor, showing up at work the next day, shaking our heads, our friends and coworkers laughing at us, giving us a high five for puking all over Sarah's dress. But it's just not worth it anymore. It's no longer fun. It's no longer funny. The desire to get blackout drunk and the willingness to suffer the consequences are long gone. Yet we still continue to repeat this pattern relentlessly. We keep getting pulled back into scenarios exactly like this. But we wouldn't if only we could just stop at 1 drink. So why can't you stop at 1 drink? The easiest way I've found to explain this is through biology and the actual structure of the human brain. You see, the part of your brain that makes the decision not to drink is not the same part of your brain that craves the alcohol. Neuroscience shows us that there are essentially 2 versions of you living inside your brain. You have your conscious mind and your unconscious mind. So when you decide before the night even starts that you're only going to have 1 or 2 drinks, that is your conscious mind making that decision. It's the part of you that can think and make plans and make decisions. But the craving for alcohol doesn't come from that part of the brain. It comes from a much deeper part. It comes from deep within the unconscious part of the brain. And these parts care far less about your conscious plans of the future than they do about what alcohol is actually doing on a chemical level when you drink. See, over hundreds, if not thousands of repetitions, every single time you drink, your unconscious brain is learning one very important thing, that alcohol is important, for reasons that require a whole nother video that I'll get into later. So the brain does what it's best at. It sends you strong motivation to continue drinking. It sends signals so powerful that no amount of conscious thinking can override it. Because once those deeper unconscious drives kick on, It doesn't feel like some alien force took over your body. It just feels like you changed your mind. That's why it's so hard to understand from the inside. Nobody hears a voice saying, ding, your unconscious processing has now taken over. No, what you hear is something that sounds a whole lot more like you just changing your mind. It sounds like, screw it. I'll just have one more. I've already had a couple anyway. I'll stop after this one. Fuck it, I guess we're going in hungover to work tomorrow. You see, the craving for alcohol does not arrive in your mind wearing some name tag that says, hello, I am an unconscious biological drive. It arrives disguised as your own reasoning. It arrives as a thought or an idea. It arrives as a voluntary decision. And that is the illusion of the relationship between the conscious and the unconscious. They interact with each other and converge into the single unified you that you identify with. So when you decide you only want one, but then you decide you want to continue, it's not actually you just being indecisive. It's literally two parts of your brain competing over opposite priorities. This is why moderation doesn't work in most scenarios. Because moderation asks you to do something incredibly difficult. It asks you to ignite the very process that creates a craving and then expects you to remain in control of the craving that process creates. It's like trying to start a fire in your living room and then acting surprised when the room gets hot. You see, the first drink isn't just one drink. It's the spark that sets the fire. And the easiest way to prevent that fire from spreading is to not start it in the first place.